topic for today is flex duct. I'm sure that all of us have seen the many ways that flex duct has been run in attics and crawl spaces. In this video, we are going to talk about best practices when running flex duct. Over the years of doing HVAC work, I've seen many walls of shame of the ways that duct work has been run. So in discussing the best practices, we want to try to keep your jobs off those walls of shame. And by just following a few practices and running flex duct, you can assure that you will provide your customer with good airflow and comfort in their living space. Flex duct comes compressed in boxes, and when it is taken out of the box, the proper design for a flex duct is to have it stretched out completely so that the airflow through the flex duct does not bounce around and bounce off the walls as it makes its way around curves and over rafters. So the flex duct needs to be stretched out completely and properly supported. A number of years ago, I was standing outside my grandson's elementary school waiting for him to come out of class, and next door they were building a house, and this technician was putting ductwork into the flooring of the house. And I watched him take the flex duct out of the box, never stretched it out, stuffed it in between the rafters, and connected it to the can underneath the furnace. I always wanted to go back to that house after they completed it and someone was living in it and ask them what kind of airflow they were getting out of their furnace. This diagram shows the friction rate when flex duct is not completely stretched out. If you take it directly out of the box and do not stretch it out, you're going to have a 30% friction rate on that flex duct. If you stretch it out halfway, you're going to have a 15%, and if you pull it out completely, it'll drop down to a 4% friction rate on the flex duct. So the proper way to install flex is to stretch it out completely to reduce your friction rate as much as possible. When you're attaching the flex duct to a metal collar on a piece of ductwork, you need to follow local codes, of course, to determine the connection requirements. But you should insert the collar or the fitting at least 1 inch into the flex for a secure connection. It is also suggested that you use a panduit strap and tape is applied at all connections. Ensure that the insulation is completely pulled over the fitting and secured. How many times have you crawled in a crawl space or in an attic and found that ductwork, because it was just taped or not properly sealed, has come loose and air is leaking into the crawl space or into the attic? So make sure everything is connected correctly and is going to last for the lifetime of the equipment. Most of us have seen flex duct that's been run through an attic where the flex duct is just draped across the rafters, cutting off about half of the airflow that moves through the flex duct. When running flex duct, make sure that you properly support it per manufacturer specifications and that you hang it with at least a 12 gauge wire as specified, and that the strap that you are holding the flex up with is at least 1.5 inches wide to keep from deforming the circular contour of the flex duct so that the air will properly flow through the flex duct as you stretch it out through the attic. So which of these ducts will be more efficient in carrying air throughout the system? If you pick the top one, you are correct. Maintaining straight and well-supported duct will increase airflow by decreasing the friction. The ductwork as run in the diagram below shows how much turbulence can be caused by not running the flex duct correctly. So make sure when you're running the flex duct that it's supported the way that it's supposed to be and that it is stretched out fully so that the air will flow freely through it and there will be no restrictions and no turbulence that will cause lack of airflow. On a long run of flex duct where you have to connect 2 different pieces, Make sure that when you're making a coupling that you always use a metal insert to ensure proper connection and limit airflow obstructions. You also want to secure it with clamps and seal it with tape. If you're connecting flex duct to a ceiling diffuser that requires a bend, it is best to use an insulated metal elbow. A smooth transition into the diffuser will help decrease noise and increase airflow efficiency and distribution. Which of these elbows will be more efficient in carrying air? Using hard elbows will ensure that duct diameter stays consistent throughout the bend. When possible, use straight pipe extensions as standoff equal to at least the duct diameter to improve airflow quality at registers and takeoffs. This will keep airflow smooth and consistent. One term that you should be familiar with when running ductwork is equivalent length. Equivalent length is an airflow killer, and flex duct has a high equivalent length number. Here we have an example of equivalent length. We have a flex duct run that is 12 feet from the unit to the register, but we have fittings in the run, two 45-degree elbows that have an equivalent length of 20 feet, one 90-degree elbow that has an equivalent length of 20 feet, and an exit fitting that has an equivalent length of 35 feet. Adding all the fittings together, we have a duct run equivalent length of 124 feet. Manual J has a number of pages that show you the different equivalent lengths for different fittings, and you'll notice that not all fittings are created equal. The 4G fitting has an equivalent length of 80 feet. A similar fitting, the 4J, has an equivalent length of 30 feet. Also, the 4L fitting has an equivalent length of 80 feet, and a similar fitting, the 4K, has an equivalent length of 30 feet. So when considering fittings for your job, you need to take into consideration the effective length of each fitting and what it's going to add to your duct run. Equivalent length also holds true in the sheet metal fittings at the furnace. You can easily add over 100 feet equivalent length by your choices of fittings coming off the air handler or the furnace. So choose your fittings and transitions wisely to reduce the equivalent length and turbulence in the system.
Go to Airefco.com for more videos, like, subscribe, and check back every week for new videos.